So before turning to today's core webinar presentation, I would like to give you a brief introduction firstly on today's outline. So you could see on your screen is about the topic of today, the Vietnam's Rooftop Solar Masterclass, Episode 1, Greenfield Developments for Rooftop Solar Projects in Vietnam. So this will go in details on assessments of rooftop solar resources, technical feasibility study, like quality of roof and building, roof availability, and analyze the different rooftop solar business models and permittings. So now we are very glad to we have one expert in renewable energy industry to share his valuable insights today. So he is Mr. Borries Plass, the Chief Operating Officer from Shell International. He is a senior business executive with 20 years of experience within the service industry, of which 12 years in Vietnam. And his background involves industry sectors, work with financial services, manufacturing, retail, and utilities. So for today's agenda, I want to list here. Mr. Borries will do the presentation about Vietnam rooftop solar resources and so on. He will present around 30 minutes presentation and 10 minutes Q&A. So for our new venture, we are dedicated to supporting key investors and developers for successful development and investment in Vietnam's renewable energy sector. So you could see the footprints of New Ventures program destinations as Asia Pacific, like Vietnam, Myanmar, Malaysia, Singapore, and also the Middle East. So what's more, here are some notes for every attendee, such as if you have any technical issues or questions to speakers, you could use the question box. And for Q&A time, I would like to introduce Mr. Borries to have the shared opinions of the Q&A, and the recording I will send you next week. So I think now I would like to give the microphone to Mr. Borries. So I will open your microphone.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miranda.
Thank you so much. I would like to share my screen and you could start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Miranda. Hello, everybody. Can you see my screen? Yeah, thank you, Miranda. Thank you, everybody. It's really great having the chance to be invited to present about this exciting topic. All about rooftop solar is in recent months and days very, very impressive. And therefore, I would like to give you the first insights of these episodes coming around business. 1 second, it seems we have some technical issue. Is it working now? Once again. Okay. Once again, welcome to the Vietnamese Solar Rooftop Masterclass. I'm very thrilled and excited to be the guest on this first episode. I'm also very excited to talk about developments in Vietnam, about solar in particular. These days are very exciting because there are so many different activities, initiatives going on. For today, I would like to share the general agenda. It's about solar energy potential, a macro introduction. Then we will talk about different solar business models, and also I will touch technical feasibility study. We have around half an hour, and therefore we might not all the topics you might be interested, but therefore Neoventure has set up a bunch of different episodes covering different angles. To start with the first solar energy potential, I would like to come from a macro perspective, explaining what is the current power energy situation in Vietnam. When you look at the development and the strategy set by the Vietnamese government, you can see that from now on until 2030, there's a plan of doubling or more than doubling the power demand from currently 60 gigawatt up to 129, 130 gigawatt. There are three main focus areas. One is in these next 10 years to increase renewable energy up to 21%, which is also a doubling of current number from 9.9 to 21%. The government has also a strong interest and initiatives in place to reduce energy savings when working with companies and manufacturers in Vietnam. And also the target is to reduce in overall the greenhouse gas emission by 15%. When we look on the right side into the general solar power, we can see a 10% year by year increase of demand. We can see and we can say from today in 2020, the current solar power is relatively small, meaning we have, especially in the rooftop solar area, a kind of blue ocean situation, meaning that the market is very young, is not matured, and a lot of things, as I mentioned, are currently happening, which is very exciting. And that's why also this masterclass is of high interest to give you some insights and especially promote the topic of renewable energy in Vietnam. And by 2030, the target is really to have 6% of solar power of the energy mix in Vietnam. I would like also to quickly remind us that Vietnam has adopted in 2015 as one of 196 countries the Paris Climate Agreement, where it's one of the most important findings is to commit that climate change is happening, that we all combined need to look that we keep every initiative to reduce CO2 emission increase, that we keep also under the target of 2 degrees. And Vietnam, as the powerhouse of manufacturing beside China, at this stage cannot be achieved when they are not trying to find alternatives to the classic traditional resources, energy resources. By the way, I also read today an article from McKinsey published yesterday that they also came up with a kind of prediction in the same context, what will be the impact not only due to COVID, but also on these climate changes. So there is a strong direction into what can we do together to protect our climate and the environment. A quick overview about the solar rooftop opportunities in Vietnam. Vietnam has an amazing opportunity due to 98,000 hectares of industrial parks. Unfortunately, there's a shortage of power, especially around the industrial parks in the south. The annual demand of around 6 gigawatts, some say 7,000 gigawatt of power, need to be addressed, and there need to be alternative resources to cover this demand. Therefore, the government has a lot of initiatives now for supporting new clean energy initiatives in Vietnam. Vietnam itself is 1,700 kilometers long, and you can see that Vietnam has pretty good radiation, but Vietnam is very different in terms of sun hours on an annual base, from around 1,100 sun hours per year in the north, around Hanoi, to around 1,450 sun hours per year in Ho Chi Minh, with up to a top of 16, 17, even 1,800 in some particular areas, which makes it very different in terms of the commercial business model we will address later in this presentation. When we look a little bit at the legal framework, the existing policies and regulation, once again, the government has in place a plan to find 12 gigawatts of additional solar power. The decision from the Prime Minister, Decision 13, it's the major decree and document dated from the 6th of April 2020. And there are clear directives towards solar rooftop. Solar rooftop projects must have a capacity of less than 1 megawatt to qualify. The current fit-in tariffs for Vietnam for solar rooftop must be completed COD by the 31st of December 2020. And the current fit-in tariff for solar rooftop is 8.38 US cents per kilowatt hour. In addition to the decision from the Prime Minister, there's a circular number 18 from the ministries dated from June 17. And this is also interest for you because there's much more detailed guidance in terms of necessary steps, how to connect to the grid, guidance in terms of templates to use when agreeing PPA deals with EVN. It is very well explained. There are different steps, even timelines, and also to mention what is important, that the rooftop solar system is exempted from the operating license for power generation. In general, we as a developer, beside our normal business license, which need to have the number 3511, we need also to have the IRC because we are a foreign directed invested company in Vietnam. Besides, rooftop solar qualifies when there is a voltage of up to 35 kilowatt, but not above. These are the major requirements to qualify for a rooftop solar project from a legal perspective. The general framework, to go a little bit more into detail from the market players in solar rooftop, there's a very close relationship between the utility company EVN and renewable energy developers like us in collaboration with the EPCs, which are the electrical or technical partners for installations. In overall, the developer funds and acquires solar rooftop projects. The developer also is responsible to carry out operation and maintenance of these projects throughout the project duration in collaboration with the EPC, if the developer is not also an EPC itself. EVN also is a very important player because they are handling all the grid connections and they are also the buyer of electricity in case electricity is not consumed by the client but sold to EVN. Another remark to industrial parks in Vietnam from the history. There are industrial zones, industrial parks, which traditionally in the past could, where factories are, could directly connect to EVN and access to the grid, meaning that they could put solar rooftops on their own and then connect to the EVN and send the electricity to the grid. The newer or latest industrial zones built by different investors, their concept is that you need an approval from the industrial park manager before you can sell electricity to EVN, but preferential, they prefer even to have the collected solar rooftops and that the owner or the renter of factories rather sell overspill them to the industrial parks and they will then sell it to EVN. Therefore, there are different kind of industrial parks in Vietnam and there's different handling and management of rooftop solar projects at the moment. A little bit coming into the work of a developer, I would like to use the example of us as ShareO. We have a track record of nearly 20 years coming from renewable energy projects in the UK, covering wind, tidal and solar projects in a bigger scale. We have a global presence in Latin America, in Africa and also in Asia. We moved to Vietnam as a startup younger company, but we have an ambitious growth plan with a current pipeline of 720 projects with a capacity of 2.1 gigawatt in our portfolio. We see Vietnam as a very exciting, very interesting market because of the manufacturing and many factories around different sectors and industries. We are covering also CNI and agriculture, and our expansion plans this year and in the future years are definitely around Southeast Asia. As a company, for us, it's very important, also from the owner, we are not looking only from a business case, from a monetary perspective. For us, it is maybe a little bit philosophical, but also very important that the sustainability, clean energy, and also developing the society in Vietnam with education. What does it mean? Clear energy. What does it mean to have less pollution? It is very, very important, and it's for me very important also to convey this message throughout this masterclass that all about renewable energy is so important in today's time by paving the way for businesses, but also for all the society, not only in Vietnam. Our business model, quickly explained, we are as an international developer of solar rooftop installations, which are usually 15 to 20 years contractual base. What we do is we agree with clients and then build commercial rooftops. So we are not focusing on B2C, we are focusing on commercial industrial rooftops and agricultural at no cost. It's very important. We do the investment and then sell power generated from the solar panels back to the company at a discount to standard electricity pricing from EVN. I will show these kind of examples right away. During this lease, we are responsible and we manage all the operations and maintenance. And after the contract term, we then hand over the system to the business, to the client at a nominal fee of $1, and then the client can then use the system free of any cost, free of charge moving forward for another 10 years. Your savings or the savings of our clients in general, as we work with the contractual engineering partners, focusing very much on quality, focusing very much on tier 1 products, need to assure that the system is running smoothly for 15 to 20 years. And a typical 1 megawatt installed system can save up to around $900,000 the period of contractual with us, which would save you this amount compared to EVN prices you currently have. In addition, the usual project starts for us with around an area of 3,000 to 3,500 square meter, but it can be also a consolidated amount of different rooftops. But this is a good indication for you to start projects with us. Benefits summarized in a more visual way. The important part is that we reduce carbon emissions. We have a project showing around 863 tons of CO2 emissions per year. It's almost a 1 megawatt project. Then we achieve definitely, or the client could achieve a LEED certificate, where the solar system brought them significant support in getting this certificate. We also can share that solar on the rooftop is less or is reducing the cooling cost from the air conditionings within the factories. And the system reduces roughly 5 to 7 degrees. There are some kind of research but the exact number depends on the number of factors, but it's really significant, 5 to 7 degrees in the factory. You can also, from a commercial point, see that the assets have a long-term hedging kind of value. And also the electricity bill on the operational cost on a monthly base is reduced at least by 15%, which makes it significant on the cost base to consider solar rooftops, not only, but also even now, because it can benefit you during these even harder COVID times. No upfront additional cost and low operational cost is to conclude this kind of overview of benefits. Explaining a bit about the collaboration with our partners, we work in Vietnam with the qualified, experienced engineering, procurement and construction partners called EPCs. We currently have 3 strategic partners and over 10 contracted newly EPC partners. And with their experience, we are focusing very much on bringing the experience from the UK into Vietnam to lift also the level of quality, health and safety procedures and technical expertise to avoid bad reputation in terms of the market, about the sector, but also to help Vietnam to develop further and to do projects of excellence. And it's really, for me, what I could see in recent months, a big improvement and a lot of development within the EPC partners we have and in the market. And the partners definitely helping us, also the existing fit-in tariff 2 constraints to pave the pipeline now, but also in the upcoming next few years. Detailed process overview for your information. It is roughly an idea for orientation. A general process takes between 10 to 15 weeks. It is very much depending on the collaboration and the finalization of required documents between the different parties. After the offer letter signing, which is a non-binding process at the beginning to give you a rough idea about the situation, location, sun hours, roof size, and an idea of the commercial orientation. Then after agreeing, we would go into a final design and contractual phase, where you can see there's a collection of technical, commercial, and kind of sales initiatives happening at the same time. After all the documents are agreed and collected, we would then go for the investment approval, because these investments of solar rooftops are significant and need to be approved at some stage that they are qualifying for investment. That is a kind of due diligence process, similar to other investments or from banking side. We will then starting preparing also the EVN connection, and then the installation process is starting, where then the pure engineering part is coming and also our EPC partners. I will come to this at a later stage. And the final part is then the commissioning, testing and COD, and also the EVN checking and approval for the certificate. And then the project is completed. The electricity can be used and can be also consumed and sold. Contract options. We have 2 different kind of agreements. One is called the roof lease agreement or roof rental agreement. We will rent the roof of the factory, and the amount of electricity generated by this system will be put directly into the grid, meaning 100% of the electricity produced will be sold to Vietnam Electricity EVN. Then we have also power purchase agreements with our clients, with factory owners, with businesses here all over Vietnam. And here the investment is 100% from our side, and the installation in place from a contractual part will be then that we sell the the electricity generated with a discounted price to EVN to the clients directly, and they use it for their own consumption. In case those businesses not consuming all the electricity generated, the surplus, the overspill, will be then sold to EVN, and depending on the location in Vietnam, part of these profits we usually share with the businesses, but it's really very much depending, as I said initially earlier, depending on the region, the location, the sun hours. And then when the contract expired, the ownership of the solar rooftop will be then transferred from us as the developer to the business, to the clients. In summary, why us? We have a really international track record. We are newly in Vietnam, but we have a really experienced leadership team, senior leadership team, different nationalities coming with a lot of experience from Europe, from Africa, from Latin America, bringing all our expertise to Vietnam, building up these projects. We have a strong investor base where we bring in investors from different regions. There are different funds and investors who have renewable energy interest to finance and also to support solar rooftop projects in Vietnam. Our focus definitely is premium quality. We want to make sure that all the projects are completed in due time, but also with the highest quality possible, with all the safety procedures in place. And service excellence, for sure. We want to make sure that over the lifespan of the project, systems are maintained properly, and that it's also applied, and that the outcome is exactly what we predicted. Some example from PPA contracts for manufacturing. Services have a different fee structure, but in values, it's the same approach. Therefore, I will focus on the manufacturing part. The first commercial option, what we have is that we have a lease payment fixed at a set discount to EVN price tariff. At the moment, EVN has 3 staged prices depending on the time of the day, and we will have then a fixed set of discounted EVN prices. The discount, depending on the zone you can see below, north, center or south, can range as an indicator from 3 to 9% in the north, and the south is even what we offer, what we can see in the market between to 25%. With a lease term of 20 years, your potential savings over the lease term, as we said, these 983,000 is reflecting to the roughly 900,000 I mentioned at the beginning. But when you look at then the potential savings over the asset life, because you're using the system or the client's using the system even another 10 years, 15 years longer, is significant at $3.8 million for the whole duration, which makes it a very exciting, interesting business case. And even in the north, having a system which saves you in the whole lifespan $2.5 million is definitely something to consider beside the environmental topics. Here it's the visual part of this model. You have clearly the red line is the EVN price is the purple. Then we have the discounted. The discounted is definitely following the price from EVN in percent. And after the 20 years, the savings are fully up to the client, up to you. But over the 20 years, you save even a significant part depending on the percentage of the saving agreed. The example here gives you a 20-year 25 discount, and the factory inherits the solar system after 20 years with these 3.8 million per megawatt. The commercial option 2, what we also offer, and it's really, there's no preferential, but we can see that clients have their own opinion and their own preference. Lease model is a lease payments where the fixed and do not increase over time. You can see here that the starting price from the lease payments might be, depending on the region, even a bit higher than the current pricing. But then from the prediction over the next 20 years, when looking back at data from the last 10 years, we could see that the price increased or doubled from 4.1 cent up to 8 cents. And we predict that also the next 20 years, the price for electricity will rather go up, especially in Vietnam, where there's a shortage, and not only due to COVID, where it might be a bit postponed, but in overall, electricity is highly supported from the Vietnamese government. So we believe that the price in the next 20 years will go up at least up to 12 or more cents. And this would make it definitely a very exciting, interesting business case in this way. You can see also the potential savings over the lease term and over the asset life. What you can see here is the same. It is the saving example over the lifespan. Now we come to the technical feasibility study, some remarks. I would like to start with the overview. In general, solar panels convert sunlight, the radiation from the sunlight, to direct current electricity, and then via inverters, which convert then the direct current into AC. We use in general 5 major components of a solar rooftop. These are mainly tier 1 suppliers, meaning certified premium suppliers. These are solar panels, inverters, bidirectional meter, electrical cabinet, and mounting system. And I will give you a video which explains a little bit better what we are doing.
Solar rooftop, the basics. A rooftop solar system includes solar panels, inverters, electrical cabinets, bidirectional meters, a mounting system, and power line. When sunlight hits the panel, the radiant energy of the sunlight is absorbed by the panel and converted into direct current. This current will be transmitted to the inverters, where it will be converted to alternating current and fed into the grid of factories or other facilities to power their activity. The electrical system of customers' factory and/or other facilities will prioritize the use of electricity generated from the rooftop solar system. In the case that the power demand of the plant is higher than what the solar system can provide, the grid will supply additional energy to immediately meet your demand. The additional energy from the grid will not cause any disruption because the solar system and EVN grid operate in parallel. Moreover, during off-peak hours or when the power demand of the plant is lower than the generation capacity of the solar system, the excess electricity will be sent to the grid and sold to EVN.
So just to give you an idea of the project management plan quickly, the electric part, the engineering part will be covered in another session of this masterclass at another time. But just the construction phase, starting with the design, the engineering submission, then there's a project kickoff, there's then the different parts from module mounting, walkway, electricity, inverters, and solar module. Then there is the testing and commissioning and handover. And then there's the operations and maintenance, just to give you a very brief overview about the project management from the engineering side. And I would like to highlight and mention very much that the steel structure evaluation is very crucial in this project, because the roof must be stable and the structure must be strong enough to hold the rooftop for 20 years or longer, up to 30 years. Therefore, we have 2 phases, the pre-construction phase and the construction phase. and even including third-party assessment in the construction phase. Just some examples, what we are looking at. Is the material, how old is the material? Is there subsidence, bending? What about the rust, the steel structure? These are just visual examples where our engineers will definitely look at. And then to conclude, and also by saying thank you very much for listening, this is a reference from our project. So if you would apply this kind of approach, what I presented with us, we can share and assure you that you will get a very good project outcome on time with the LEED certificate on demand and also happy clients. And that's it from my side. Thank you very much for listening. And I think Miranda, I'm open for questions.
Yes. Thanks so much, Mr. Borries, wonderful presentation, and thanks for sharing OK International. So actually, I would like to share my screen. Wait a moment. So you could see my screen is about the Q&A page. Actually, I received many questions from attendee list. So there is 3 questions I would like to ask for Mr. Borries. So the first one, main permits and approvals for developers or investors to develop RTS projects in Vietnam. So may I know what's your opinions about that?
Yeah, as I mentioned already before in my presentation, I think the main and important are the connection confirmation from EVN, which was part of the circular, and also the contractual agreement when you have the PPA between the renewable developer, EVN, and also the client facility owner. These are generally the documents which are needed. And from a developer side, as I mentioned, the IRC, if it's a foreign direct investment, is needed. And in the business license, the ERC, the enterprise license, there should be the business service function 3511 mentioned for power generation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, got it. Thanks for Mr. Borries. And another one is, what's your perspective regarding agri-solar development in Vietnam? And is there any permitted difference between agri-solar projects and rooftop solar projects?
Yeah, maybe in this question, it's a good question. I would like to turn it around from the decision 13, what I also mentioned in the presentation. There are 2 classifications. Rooftop solar systems must be smaller than 1 megawatt, and also directly or indirectly connected to EVN or to the power grid with up to 35 kilovolts of the bias, which is the definition. Everything else, if it's over 1 megawatt or if it's over 35 kilowatt, would then classify for grid-connected solar power projects, and these are either floating on the water, or these are then ground-mounted solar farms. In general, agri-solar development here, from what I understand, means it is just a different industry sector, but there would be no differences. It's just a different business, because from a definition, the factories need to have a construction and a roof, and this is also clearly defined in the circular, and therefore agricultural is not different to be seen from commercial and industrial factories.
Okay, got it. And the third question is, what were or are the most challenging aspects encountered to develop rooftop solar projects in Vietnam?
Yeah, as we have mentioned, the fit-in tariff 2 is ending by end of the year. So this is for sure one of the current kind of challenges for a lot of developers and clients, because you can imagine everybody is now keen to look, can we get a solar rooftop, because the fit-in tariff 2, which is slightly lower than the fit-in tariff 1, We don't know, unfortunately, yet what is coming after the fit in tariff 2, but we believe strongly that there will be a fit in tariff 3, but we don't know at what level. Besides, it is also then the experience in working and applying these grid connections with the local EVN. This is what we currently see as the challenges, but I think these are nice challenges to have, because the trend of solar rooftop is amazing, and it's really a very, very interesting time at the moment.
Okay, makes sense. Meanwhile, I just quickly have a look about the Q&A box. So, Mr. Borries, is there any questions you would like to answer on the online Q&A box?
Yeah, I think from the timing, we are fine. I think maybe 1 or 2 questions would be of interest, definitely. Yeah.
So you could find on the online Q&A box. Could you see?
1 second, I can open and see.
Perfect. Take your time.
Okay, so the question, the first one, was it the question, what are the major risks, or what is it?
So actually I have 2 questions, and I think my 2 colleagues just answer the questions. So this time we do not need to answer the questions on online Q&A box. And for all attendees, if you like to raise up to Mr. Borries, please send to me email, and I will do the finishing ceremony. So is that suitable, Mr. Borries?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. But in the Q&A box, should I answer the questions, or I see 2 at the moment, right?
Yes.
Okay, but you will provide the answer. Okay.
Yes.
Later stage. Okay.
So it's my time to give the finishing ceremony for every attendees.
Okay.
So you could get in touch with us by our marketing and me. Any questions, please send to me email to us. I will raise up questions to Mr. Borries. Of course, I want to attach the second, the episode 2 events regarding to the financing options in Vietnam. So for all attendees already registered episode 1, so you could get access to all of our Masterclass courses. So I think today's webinar is finishing, and do very, very appreciate for Mr. Borries' support and help, and share international help.
Thank you, Miranda. Thank you, everybody, and feel free to reach out.